To resolve the relationship means to simply make things right. You deal with the fact that you were hurt, you acknowledge the pain that you felt, and you choose to forgive. Ernest James is a father, a friend, a mentor, also a speaker, podcaster, author, all of those things. But at my core, I'm just a person who loves people. And I've always been raised and I always just had the heart to help people. And so even as an adult, that's what I've been doing pretty much my whole life, whether it's been in ministry or as serving as home health care, taking care of people with disabilities. I've always been a servant, and so that's continuing into what I do now as a speaker, expanding it to more of a larger scale, but also niching down to more of a personal, one-on-one almost in some cases, to be a help to people. And my mission is to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with your problems, to heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose. And so everything that I do is kind of built around that. So my podcast is called Deal2Heal with E. James Podcast. My inspirational t-shirt line is called Deal2Heal Tees. My podcasting network is called the Deal2Heal Podcasting Network, and then my nonprofit organization is Deal2Heal New Reel. So everything that I do is around helping people to heal and to deal with whatever the challenges that they may have in order to help them to overcome it. I've been speaking in ministry for over 20 years, probably. But as a professional speaker now in the school space and in other spaces like that, it's probably like 3 years I've been doing it at the time we're recording this. But that's professionally. Probably non-professionally, I've been doing it my whole life. Like I said, just growing up in church, beginning to serve as a young person. So I talk about when I went through a season of depression because I was sad when my mom passed away. So I talk about the things that I used to help me get out of that place, right? To get better, to get my energy back. And so on that podcast, my guests and I have conversations like that. So whatever it is that something may have happened or whatever issues that people are dealing with, we talk about how to help you get out of it. Someone else's today could be your tomorrow. So whatever someone else is dealing with today, you could be dealing with tomorrow. And so treat that person how you would want somebody to treat you if you're in that position. And so learning to serve, to go to places, to have service, to pray with people, to just, speak to people and take out time to let people know that you care and also that they matter, And so in that area of service, I've been doing my whole life because I was guaranteed and I was on a mission to make sure that I made my father proud. My next thing that you have to find is your purpose. My purpose was to become an example to my younger sisters and brothers because they had seen me fail, but now they had to see me achieve to know that they can achieve also. And then lastly was my plan. I had to come up with a plan in order to achieve the things that I was trying to achieve. I had to come up with a plan in order to map out the steps needed to become the person that I wanted to become. I kind of grew to it. Like I said, growing up being a PK, for those who don't know what that is, that's pastor's kid, a preacher's kid, in a family of generations of pastors and preachers. So the thought and the mission to serve has not only been my mission, but before I even was here, it was the mission of my family for generations. And so with each generation, it's like, all right, we're going to serve in some capacity and we're going to help somebody. And so just always having that mindset and always looking for the opportunity to serve, wherever I am, it's like, all right, how can I help somebody today? How can I serve somebody today? And so it's always been there, now just taking it to another level. I work in construction on my regular job. And so I was on a job and one of the guys I was working with, just two of us working together. And he asked me, what did I do for the weekend? He was like, hey, what did you do last weekend? And so I said, well, I spoke at this convention, at this conference that we were having. And I was a speaker. And so he was like, oh, that's cool. Tell me more about it. and how you got into speaking. And so I began to tell him my story of dealing with the things that I've dealt with, depression, suicidal ideation, and all of those things. And it allowed him to say, man, I dealt with some things of knowing some family members that had committed suicide and had took their own lives, and how he had even dealt with him having the suicidal ideation thoughts himself. And we probably had like a 45-minute conversation before we had to go to lunch. And then when we came back from lunch, he was like, you know what, I want to tell you something. You're a really cool guy and you're a good person to know, because the conversation we just had, I've never had with anybody. And so I told him, like, that's why I'm so vocal about the things that I've been through and the things that I've dealt with and the things that I've overcome, especially amongst men, because I want to open that door for other men to feel safe enough, to be vulnerable enough to admit the things that they are dealing with, to admit the mental challenges that they may be having, because we usually don't talk about it. And that's kind of hurting us, and it's been hurting us. But we try to mask it with masculinity. And it's like, no, that's not working. We got to be able to have these safe spaces. And so that's been the most recent impactful thing that has happened, to be able to have that conversation with him where he felt safe enough to open up and share with me some of the things that he was dealing with. My main audience is the youth, mostly in the high school space, coming out of high school, to really connect with them before they get out into the world, with also allowing them to understand that whatever trials, whatever failures that you may have made along the way, that you can use those failures to help you get to the next spot, the next space in life. And so I always say, maximize your failures. Like, you already failed. There already was some lessons that you learned. Maximize those lessons, right? And use them to your advantage as you move forward. So that is my main audience, which would be, high school students, but I really connect a lot with adults too, because of the life experience and the things that I've been through as an adult, that I can connect with them and understand and have empathy for them, in order to also help them understand that they can get through whatever that they're dealing with too. So I would say young adults, teenagers to young adults moving up is my main audience. I'm really looking to make a difference in the world, and so my outputs and my outlets that I have created enables me to do that. So my podcast, the Deal2Heal with E. James podcast, focuses on my guests and I having discussions to help us to heal in every area of our lives. So I talk about things that I've been through, the divorce, the depression, the suicidal ideations. And for things that I haven't been through, I bring on other guests to talk about those issues and how they made it through, so that if any of my listeners are dealing with some of those same issues or some of those same challenges, then they are left with tips and tools in order to get through it as well. Also with my nonprofit, the Deal2Heal New Reel Foundation, I really want to be able to just reach all those little spaces that we don't often think about, whether it's feeding someone, whether it's, providing shoes, whatever need that is out there, I want to be able to try to get in there and help in any way that I can. And so that's my whole mission. And then as a father, I am a girl dad. And so I'm very passionate about helping young ladies and helping even other girl dads. And so I started a podcast called Girl Dad Discussions, in order to amplify the voices of girl dads to the world, in order also to combat the narrative of the absent father and the fatherless daughter. And so, so I've been really pushing on that. I'm really passionate about that. Again, just to really take my life and my experiences and use them to help someone else. So whether it's a student, coming into adulthood, or whether it's a girl dad and a father, trying to build that relationship better with their daughters and their sons at the same time, because I'm also a male mentor. So really just using myself, my vision, my story to help others to overcome whatever challenges that they're dealing with. You can find me on YouTube at the Deal2Heal Podcasting Network. is my YouTube channel, Deal to Heal Podcast on Instagram, or Ernest James Speaker on Instagram, and Ernest James on Facebook. And my website is Ernest James Speaks Life. If you go to ernestjamesspeakslife.com, you can see more of what I have got going on, and to book me or to have me to come out to do a workshop. As far as supporting me, you can support me in different ways. You can go to Deal2Heal Tees, which is my inspirational t-shirt line. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear an inspirational tee and be inspired all day. That is our tagline. Again, that's Deal, the number 2, Heal Tees. Deal2Heal Tees is our inspirational t-shirt line. And ebooks by ejames.com. You can go there and check out some of the ebooks that I've written, including an ebook called The 4 Core, which is the 4 core values that every daughter should get from her father. Again, I'm a girl dad. I'm hard in that space to make sure that those relationships between the dad and daughter is very strong. And so you can check out that ebook at ebooksbyejames.com.